when was this released? This was released about an hour ago. Now, this is the current status of the quarterbacks that's currently in college football. Now, we know Arch Manning is the big time draw. Everybody is looking at Arch Manning, bro. That's what everybody want to see, right? This post states, week 3 of college quarterback trackers here. Oregon quarterback Dante Moore has been added to the tracker. Who is your quarterback? Now, say Arch Manning, 11 of 25, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 114 yards. Laura Sellers, 6 of 7, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 94 yards, 1 sack.
Proponent of Shedeur. I think he's going to be a star talent in the NFL. I think he has the highest ceiling in the quarterback room, and I do think he was slept on. So I'll give him that Shedeur has not gotten reps with the ones, and that's frustrated me. And the Browns' unofficial depth chart, having him at 4, has also frustrated me. But I don't think that's going to stay that way for long at all, right? Pickett is on his way down the depth chart in no time, and I do think that part could be handled better by Cleveland. But don't blame the Browns for that. Every team in the NFL slept on him for 5 rounds. Heck, the Saints took Tyler Shuck ahead of Shedeur Sanders. It's blasphemous. So it's not Cleveland this time. We can't put the blame on the Browns. I see people saying, trade Shedeur so he can actually have a chance to play somewhere else. It's not Cleveland.
Don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. Let me tell you right now, this isn't just some rumor floating around Twitter. This isn't the kind of lazy headline you scroll past on ESPN's bottom ticker. This is a full-blown league-wide scramble. And it's centered on one name, Shedeur Sanders. And the fact that 4, 5, 6 different NFL teams are reportedly blowing up Cleveland's phone lines tells you everything you need to know. This is not noise. This is power. This is leverage. Think about it. When's the last time we saw this kind of frenzy around a rookie who hasn't even stepped on the field as a starter yet? Usually it's the other way around. A team desperate to unload a guy, taking whatever late-round pick they can get back. But this is the opposite. Teams are begging to get Shedeur. Cincinnati calling after Joe Burrow goes down. Miami panicked after Tua looks shaky. The Rams desperate for life after Stafford. And the Colts willing to throw Anthony Richardson's name into the conversation just to test Cleveland's resolve. That's not desperation for depth. That's desperation for a future. And here's the part that makes this whole thing insane. Cleveland keeps saying no. That's a franchise planting its flag in the ground and saying we know what we have. And we're not letting go. That's not just about holding a quarterback. That's about holding power over the rest of the league. I can't help but think back to New England with Jimmy Garoppolo. Brady was still Brady, but the Patriots knew they had something sitting behind him. The tension grew so strong it literally reshaped the dynasty. Or Green Bay, when Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love became the story instead of the Packers' actual season. Quarterback controversies have toppled locker rooms, ended legacies, and created new ones overnight. And Cleveland of all franchises, is standing right in the middle of that storm. You've got to understand the magnitude here. This isn't just a roster move. It's not about QB2 or QB3. This is a chess match with the entire NFL watching. On one side, you've got franchises willing to mortgage their future to land Shedeur Sanders. On the other, you've got the Browns, a team that hasn't had a consistent quarterback since what? Bernie Kosar. And now for the first time in decades, they're saying, we're not getting played. Not this time. And as a fan, I'll be honest with you, it's maddening and exciting all at once. Maddening because every bone in my body is screaming, put the kid on the field already. Exciting because the fact that other teams are this desperate tells us what maybe Cleveland already knows. This guy isn't just a backup. He's the story. He's the future. He's the player that could flip the entire AFC on its head. So don't get it twisted. This isn't rumors. This isn't background noise. This is a power play. And when a rookie quarterback becomes the centerpiece of a tug-of-war between desperate franchises and a stubborn front office, history tells us one thing: somebody's legacy is about to change forever. And if you think this is the end of the story, you're dead wrong. Because the real question isn't just will Cleveland trade him, it's what happens if they don't. Let's just call it what it is. Cleveland's depth chart right now is an absolute joke. I mean, how do you take a guy like Shedeur Sanders, who just came out of college dropping video game numbers, and bury him at QB3, sometimes even QB4? You've got a 40-year-old Joe Flacco sitting above him. You've got Dylan Gabriel, another rookie ahead of him. And yet the one quarterback every other team is calling about is standing on the sideline with a clipboard. That's not development, that's dysfunction. Look at the reality here. Shedeur wasn't just good in college. He was elite. Over 4,000 passing yards, a 74% completion rate, 37 touchdowns against only 10 picks. Those are the kind of numbers that scream first-round pedigree. Meanwhile, Cleveland's supposed future options in the 2026 draft. Arch Manning putting up 11 for 25 with a touchdown and a pick. Drew Aller throwing for 20 yards on nearly 30 attempts. These are the guys scouts are drooling over? Please. Shedeur was doing better than that in his sleep at Colorado. And yet somehow, some way, the Browns have convinced themselves he's not ready for the field. And here's the part that drives me crazy. Teams like Cincinnati, Miami, and LA, franchises with legit playoff aspirations, are begging for this guy. They see what Cleveland refuses to acknowledge. The Bengals lose Burrow and Shedeur is the first call they make. Miami watches Tua throw 2 picks in week 1, and their fan base starts a social media campaign to trade for Sanders. The Rams are terrified of Stafford's back giving out, and who's on their radar? Shedeur Sanders. Everybody else sees a future starter. Cleveland sees a third-string insurance policy. This is the same franchise that's been cursed at quarterback for decades. Since 1999, how many starters have they cycled through? 20? 30? Names we don't even remember anymore. And now somehow the Browns might actually be sitting on the guy who could break that curse, and they're letting him rot behind players who don't even move the needle. It's the cruelest irony in the NFL. The one city desperate for quarterback stability is the one city refusing to unleash the guy who could provide it. And listen, I get the logic the front office will sell you. We want to develop him slowly. We don't want to throw him into the fire too soon. But come on, how long are we going to pretend this is about patience? This feels less like development and more like denial. You don't keep a racehorse in the stable while other owners are offering you everything to let him run. You don't park a Ferrari in the garage while you roll out a beat-up minivan every Sunday. That's exactly what Cleveland is doing right now. And here's the kicker. Every rep Shedeur doesn't get, every series he's left holding a headset instead of a helmet, is another opportunity wasted. Another chance for a kid with real talent to show what he can do, lost to organizational stubbornness. The Browns aren't just stalling his development, they're stalling their own future. So yeah, the depth chart might look fine on paper, but to the fans, to the rest of the league, it looks like what it really is, a bad joke. And jokes in the NFL don't stay funny for long. Because if Cleveland doesn't figure this out soon, those trade calls aren't just going to keep coming. They're going to get louder. And at some point, one offer might just be too big to refuse. Let's rewind for a second and remember how this whole story started. Because for every fan hyping up Shedeur Sanders, there were 10 critics tearing him down. He's just a Coach Prime product. He only looks good because of the media machine around his dad. He's a late 5th-round pick for a reason. I've heard it all. They said he wasn't polished enough. They said he didn't have the poise to handle an NFL pocket. They said the spotlight would crush him. And yet, every time Shedeur actually steps on the field, those same critics go quiet. Remember the preseason flashes? The accuracy jumps off the screen. We're not talking about reckless highlight throws. We're talking about surgical precision, ball placement where only his receiver can touch it. That's not hype. That's skill. That's hours of grinding in the film room and on the practice field. And what about the turnovers? The NFL is littered with rookies who come in slinging picks like candy on Halloween. Shedeur? He protects the football. That's something you can't fake. 37 touchdowns, only 10 interceptions his final college season. That's discipline. That's poise under pressure. And it's exactly what coaches beg for in a young quarterback. Now the critics will still point to the 5th-round tag. But let me remind you of 2 names, Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, both overlooked. Both written off as system guys who wouldn't translate, and both went on to become franchise leaders. Wilson brought Seattle a Super Bowl. Dak turned the Cowboys into consistent contenders. Neither was supposed to make it. Neither was supposed to matter. But they did. And Shedeur has that same DNA. The underdog grit, the chip on the shoulder, the quiet determination to prove everyone wrong. And here's the part the stat sheets won't tell you. He's already winning in ways that can't be measured. While other rookies are figuring out where to live or what car to buy, Shedeur's out in the community, organizing events, talking to kids, showing up for people who have nothing to give back. That's not marketing, that's character. And in a league where locker rooms fracture over ego and entitlement, that kind of leadership matters. It builds trust. It builds belief. It builds culture. So yeah, critics called him overhyped, but hype doesn't lead teammates to respect you before you've even played a snap. Hype doesn't make veterans nod when you walk into a huddle. And hype sure doesn't make NFL teams, desperate ones, line up with trade offers before you've thrown a single touchdown in the pros. What we're seeing right now isn't hype, it's proof. Proof that Shedeur Sanders has already outgrown the labels slapped on him on draft day. Proof that he's more than his father's shadow. And proof that sometimes the league gets it wrong, and the player gets the last word. The only question left is this: how long will Cleveland keep letting the critics dictate the narrative, instead of letting Shedeur flip it on the field? Here's the thing about Shedeur Sanders. He's not just sitting around with a headset collecting dust. He's building something. And if you're paying attention, you can already feel it. This isn't a guy sulking about being QB3. This is a guy using every second to learn, to lead, and to quietly stack respect inside that locker room. Watch the way he carries himself. He's got Joe Flacco, a Super Bowl MVP, right there in the quarterback room, and instead of complaining about the depth chart, Shedeur is soaking up everything the veteran has to offer. Footwork adjustments, film study habits, the little things about reading defenses that don't show up on the stat sheet. He's learning from a guy who's seen it all, and the crazy part, you can tell he's already internalizing it. But where Shedeur separates himself is off the field. While rookies his age are worried about endorsement deals or what car to drive, Shedeur's out in Cleveland neighborhoods that most players don't even know exist. Garden Valley, Rainbow Terrace. He's showing up at community events, talking to kids who see him as proof that their city has hope. This isn't staged PR. This is genuine. He's putting in roots before he's even played a snap. And let me tell you something, that kind of leadership doesn't just win over fans, it wins over teammates. Because here's the truth, Cleveland has been burned by quarterbacks for decades. Johnny Manziel, Brady Quinn, Deshaun Kaiser. The list is endless. Every time the story was the same. A burst of hype, a flash of potential, then disappointment. But Shedeur feels different. He doesn't just want to be Cleveland's quarterback. He wants to be Cleveland's identity. And for a franchise that's lived in the shadow of losing, that matters more than stats on a page. You can sense it in the way the front office talks about him. Andrew Berry doesn't flinch when reporters ask about trades. Kevin Stefanski preaches development, but you can hear the subtext. This isn't just a project. This is an investment in a culture shift. The Browns aren't just keeping Shedeur for what he might do this season. They're keeping him for what he represents. A new way forward. And that's the wild part. He hasn't thrown a single regular season pass. He hasn't had that signature welcome to the league moment. But already, Sanders has changed how Cleveland talks about itself. Already, he's erased some of the skepticism and replaced it with belief. You can't fake that. You can't buy that. That's leadership. Raw and real, before the stats even hit the board. So yeah, right now he's got the clipboard. Right now he's technically QB3. But make no mistake, this isn't about today's depth chart. This is about tomorrow's identity. Shedeur isn't just a quarterback in waiting. He's a culture reset for a franchise that's needed one for decades. And the only real question left is this: how long can the Browns keep that kind of energy contained before it bursts onto the field? Let's be real for a second. What Cleveland is doing right now isn't just bold, it's dangerous. This isn't about keeping a young quarterback stashed away. This is the biggest gamble this franchise has made in decades. And for a team with a history as tortured as the Browns, that says everything. Think about it. If they're right, if Shedeur Sanders is really the guy they believe he is, then Cleveland may finally end the 20-plus year nightmare that's haunted this fan base. No more cycling through starters like their names on a whiteboard. No more hoping the next draft class will deliver salvation. If the Browns are right, then this moment, this decision to hold the line, to say hell no to every trade offer will be remembered as the turning point. The moment Cleveland finally chose stability, finally chose belief, finally chose their future. But if they're wrong, if Shedeur never gets his shot, if another team ends up with him, and he turns into a star in different colors, then this gamble becomes another scar in a long list of scars. Another chapter in the same tragic story we've seen since the franchise came back in 19... And honestly, as a fan, that possibility is terrifying. Because this city can't afford another quarterback heartbreak. Not after everything. Not after the false promises, the near misses, the endless rebuilds. But here's the thing that makes me lean in. This time feels different. You can sense it in the way the Browns are protecting him. You can see it in the way Shedeur carries himself, even as QB3. There's a calm confidence here, like both sides know exactly what they're waiting for. And as frustrating as it is to watch him hold a clipboard instead of a football, you start to realize maybe Cleveland is playing the long game. Maybe they finally understand that a true franchise quarterback isn't just about what he does on Sundays, it's about what he represents every single day. And that's where Shedeur separates himself. He represents belief, he represents hope, and he represents something that Cleveland hasn't had in a long time, a future worth waiting for. The Browns aren't just betting on an arm. They're betting on a leader. They're betting on a culture shift. They're betting on a kid who's already proven at every level that he makes programs better the moment he walks in the door. So yeah, it's a gamble, but sometimes the biggest risks deliver the biggest rewards. And I'll say it right here, right now. By 2027, Shedeur Sanders won't just be Cleveland's starter, he'll be their star. He'll be the quarterback that finally rewrites the Browns' story from pain to pride. And when that day comes, when he finally takes the field as the face of this franchise, we'll look back at these rumors, these trade calls, this moment right here, and we'll know the Browns were right to bet everything on the one guy who could change it all.